What's going on, y'all? Paul the Barbarian here. We're going to make some arming points today. If you don't know what an arming point is, arming points are actually what you tie your armor onto. Usually you have little the plates usually have holes in them, and it's set to hang on your gambeson and actually hang on your body correctly to put it in the proper place so you'd be able to fight and not have to worry about it. Now, your gambeson, when you buy it, usually does not have these situated and on there because they don't know where your armor actually needs to hang, so they don't know where to put the arming points. Usually you have to do a little bit extra effort, or you find someone that can do it for you. I'm going to show you today how to make them really simply, from taking it from this, just a bare little piece of leather, to this situation where you can thread it on there and sew it on your gambeson so you have your armor hanging in the correct way. Now, when I pick out the leather, when I'm using for making arming points, I usually find something a little bit thicker, usually about 8 ounce. I try to find something that's got it's got good elasticity to it. You don't want it to be super stretchy or anything like that. You want it to be pretty stiff, but you don't want it to be too stiff where it becomes brittle and then rips off really badly. You kind of want to put these on there once and not have to worry about it for a little while, kind of thing. You don't want to have to be going back and forth doing stuff. I think this is the easiest way to do arming points. It's one of those gnarly little things you have to do and make sure that you have done. And I'm going to try and do it. I've got a couple different ways you can do it here with different tools, whatever you've got at your disposal, or whoever's got the leather working tools in your group. Just kind of little things that you kind of need to have for doing armor repair anyways, like a rotary punch and a hammer, all that kind of stuff. And I've got these nifty little sewing bits that make punching holes for making sewing a little bit easier. So how do we go from here to here? So basically I try to use a bigger hole to punch through. This is a 3/8 punch. It's just a straight punch, and punch 2 holes in it like I have here, so we can, well, I'll go ahead and just show you this one. So you can either punch it like this, go over a stern piece of table, try to have something underneath it so you don't punch all the way through and deaden out your stuff. So we've got one hole. Let me scoot this over here for this one because I'm smart. This little cut pad is really nifty. It's a better thing to keep your blades from going dull. Stop talking while I hit stuff. So, okay, got 2 holes. Why do I have 2 holes? Take 550 cord, whatever you're using. Take the inners out of it. Get rid of that. That's actually what makes your stuff come untied. By the way, H&B doesn't allow anything 550 cord. You should be using leather thong, which is a thin strip of leather kind of thing. But how I do it is this is how your arming point is on your armor, and then you tie your plate to it like that. So there's your situation. That's what you have. Now, all these little sewing bits, how to get it holes and sew onto it. So, by the way, if you don't have a straight punch like this, you can always do it with a rotary punch and punch. I'll just grab this, see if this leather actually let me punch through it because it's gnarly. You take that big punch, punch 1 hole. Of course, it didn't pop out because this rotary punch has seen many better days. Give it a little spin there. Basically, if you punch all the way through, you'll feel it give. Make that hole bigger. You don't want to have really small holes on this because you don't want to have to worry. Like if a tie gets cut or you have to replace a tie and you're like under a minute time to get it fixed, you want to make it so a squire's got the easiest job possible. I think I finally bent this thing out of shape. These things are not the greatest in the world. That's why I like these straight punches, but that's big enough, like you can clean it up however you want with a knife or something like that. So now we have 2 holes. We're ready for that one. I have this nifty little 5 punch. This 5 punch is pretty, there we go, whatever. This little 5 punch goes in, it punches 5 holes at once, so you're able to sew it on there a lot easier. Most people just do 2 sides, so punch it through so the tips barely poke out the other side. There we go, there's a good broadside of that. I'm trying a new situation here. So you've done one side, you've punched through one side. Now, to make it easier for you, because you got to draw a sewing needle through these things, I go and I find the holes on the back side and I punch through forward to the other side again, making the holes big enough. Now, if you don't have one of these Jim Jams, you can use a finishing nail. and usually do it like that. Just make it a little bit easier on yourself. You can then widen out the holes with an awl, like I'm doing, to make it a lot easier for you to drag the needle through. So I punch them, I give them all a little bit more space so it's a little bit easier to drag that through there. There you go. Now we have our 5 holes. So what I use to attach my stuff is actually, this is a wax thread. You want a heavier gauge a thread. You can also use artificial sinew, that kind of situation. I think that's kind of what this stuff is. I don't remember because I bought it so stinking long ago. But look it up, leather working tools and such like that. I just tie a big old knot on here, a little bit of Jim Jam hanging off of there, don't matter. So from here, it's pretty much straightforward sewing. You take this, it's usually you use a bigger needle. You don't want to use just like a regular thread needle because number one, you won't be able to get the sinew through it. Number two, the needle won't hold up, kind of thing. So you got to get it through there. Most of the time it's a little bit tighter and you have to really drag this through. A pair of needle nose pliers goes a long way. I don't have any sitting in front of me. So you go through this and then you mark out on your gambeson where you need it. Big thing about placement with gambesons, you take the piece of armor, you put it on you, you figure out where the arming point goes, and then I usually put it up a little bit higher than that because these things thread, the strings that you use sometimes stretch, these things bow out a little bit. You want to make sure that you're able to take up as much slack as you can because you want your armor to be sitting there. So you go down through the gambeson all the way back through and you come back up through it, and I usually try to double over. You want to kind of double over yourself. This doesn't have to be pretty. It's not the end all be all to make it look beautiful and everything else like that. But I usually double over, come back to the hole that I was at, drag it through. It gets a little bit more difficult over time. And then I come back, I go to the third hole, and I basically do that whole situation all the way across. There we go. Find a thimble that can fit your thumb. You see how difficult this is getting. A pair of needle nose pliers goes a long way. So I dip it back down through and go from there. So I usually go through that and I go all the way around. I go around both sides. I usually do both ends of this. Sometimes I do 4-point. If I really don't want it to go anywhere, I don't plan on changing the positioning or anything else like that. Sometimes I go 4-point all the way around. But this makes it a really stout attachment to your gambeson, so your armor stays in place when you're doing stuff. And that's really the whole point of it, is just so it hangs off of you, so it's not like strapped to you exactly, and it's not like pulling on you in any way, shape, or form. It's all attached to the gambeson and hangs off you kind of like that. So that's arming points. I had a couple of people asking me about arming points and how to make them and do stuff. This is one of the easier ways, stronger ways. You don't want to cut holes in your gambeson to put these things on. It's not really good to break the plane of the gambeson with anything but a sewing needle, just because it'll then start tearing down that hole and keep tearing until it gets giant holes in it like mine does. I had to learn some things over some time. But you want to sew them on tight, you want to get them on there secure, tie a nice, bring it back around and then tie a knot into the next sew that you've got going and the next loop you've got going. I usually just loop it around and do it a couple of times, and it makes it so you don't have to worry about it nearly as much. You can put grommets on these things if you really want to. I really don't think they do anything more for strength or anything else like that. I think this is pretty strong the way it is. You guys leave a description below, leave a comment below if you have any questions or anything else about this kind of thing. But arming points come up a little bit more often because they rip off. You need to put them on there when you get your gambeson new. Try not to put them on there until you have the armor that you're planning on hanging on them, just because you need to know where that placement is, or you're going to have to take them off and redo them again. I hope you guys are staying safe out there. I got a whole bunch of snow falling down here in Maryland. Got new t-shirts out. There's a link down in the description below. We've got two styles of shirt. I got crop tops and I got regular t-shirts, and we've got 2 different designs, the Get Wrecked and the PTB. Y'all Have a good one. You got any questions, comments, concerns? Throw them down below in the comments. I read all of them, and they go towards making more content and the things that you want to know. So if you've got questions, throw them at me. I'm down. I'll do a couple more maintenance things. I'll show you guys how to put together straps and buckles. We'll go through there kind of thing. And I'm ready for more fighting. I'm ready for us to start getting back together and getting to violence and doing some stuff. Remember, keep yourself healthy, stay safe, but most importantly, get vicious or get out. Be easy.